So here we go.
Let's get weird, buddy. Let's get weird.
Guys, where are we?
Well, if there's a bright center to the universe, you're on the planet that is farthest from.
Welcome to the Outer Rim. Enjoy your stay.
Fuck you, Mr. Milchick!
Yeah, see, that's like, I don't think that's gonna get old. It's a nice little transition.
I'm excited every time I see it.
Yeah, and it kind of goes towards what I like to say about this show, or at least I like my intro. But for this show, I like to say hashtag never skip the intro. Welcome everybody back to Smirking Gun. This is Rob here, and with me, as always, for at least these episodes and a lot of other stuff I do, I've got. Look at that! I did it again. I pointed the right way. Darren Jakes from D's Reviews is here with me to talk Severance Season 2, Episode 3. Who's alive? Darren, as always. I feel like we should always talk like we're recording, but yes, let's just act like yes.
just a perfectly natural kind of conversation. Well, you got to do the intros part. You got to say.
Yeah,
hi.
I should add like canned
like
applause and stuff.
Well, no, I'm excited to be here. I really enjoyed the chat last week. We had some great comments in the chat here as well. So I'm thrilled to jump back in. And there was a lot in with this episode. There's definitely a lot that they give us to kind of dwell on and think about. So I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, I definitely like when I watched it this morning really super early, I didn't catch half the things I noticed when I just watched it now.
Right.
So many more topics. I was trying to watch it as just an audience member this morning, and that's hard to do when you're like, but you know what? It's not hard to do at 5 a.m. when you're not even out of bed yet. So you just my brain's kind of just like, it's all just going in and it's like pure enjoyment. And then later I pick up a pen and a piece of paper and suddenly I'm all making getting the string together. Watch this. This is how this connects.
Yeah, I was really excited too last night when the episode started. I felt good. Like last week, I had taken some good notes. I'd organized them and everything, and I was like, "All right, the show's starting, and it gets on." And I throw my paper down, and I'm all ready to go. And I hit play, and I'm like 10, 15 minutes in before I realized I haven't written anything down. It's just sucked me fully in. I'm like, "Okay, wait a minute. I gotta go back, and I'm gonna totally forget like half of this stuff." Because, like I said, there was a lot of stuff in this episode. But I think it says something that it does suck you in, that even as when you are prepared to write down the things that are happening, refer and try and make connections. Like I said, it's easy to get as like any other audience member in here because it is so engrossing. And I think didn't Stiller do this episode, direct this episode? I think this is Ben Stiller's back.
He directed this. Yeah, and I think he directed like a few of the first season too.
Yeah, a lot of the first season, yeah. So I think there's a certain feel that he definitely brings into the show.
Oh yeah, I don't watch a lot of interviews with people talking about things. I just don't need to know where the sausage gets made most of the time. But I have listened to a couple of interviews about the making of the show from Stiller's perspective and from the creator Dan Erickson's, and both of it is just, I don't know, man. Like it's just like we've talked about. It's so well crafted. It's so, and it's Ben Stiller being like getting to be, do something dark and thrilling and really out of his comfort zone, which is really what I'm happy to see. And just Adam Scott's. Everybody in this cast, and in this episode, it's no different. There's so many good parts already in this, and in this episode, we get introduced to two new characters. Whether How often they'll be back, I don't know. But we got Merritt Weaver's Gretchen, who plays Dylan's wife.
Right.
And we got Brienne of Tarth herself, Gwendolyn Christie, who is playing Lorne. The last time I heard the name Lorne was for the character on Angel. But we got them in here. We got goats. We got a weirdo dressed up as a black goat that made me think of the witch. That's the first thing I thought of, man, was that the way that just that. I was like, what are we doing here? What is.
For me, it was more like if the hills had eyes was on a goat farm. This is what we had going on here.
So for everybody out there, full spoilers. If you haven't seen this episode, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, all that jazz. So the episode starting with the Stone Roses of all bands. This was weird. I love the Stone Roses. I don't know if you know how much about them.
I am not
from
familiar,
the 90s. No. Okay, this song's called Love Spreads. I like it. It's very I got into this band when I was watching, like, the first time I saw Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels back in the 90s.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of those bands, these bands kind of came out along the same time as like Radiohead and Blur. And I thought this was, I loved hearing it. I don't know how much it fits other than going for a little bit of a heisty feel with what Mark's doing. I also thought it was really weird that Miss Cobell has this in her tape deck, but whatever. What I really want to talk about is she's driving a Yugo, and we've never brought that up, like that the way she lives. And it kind of makes sense that she'd drive a Yugo. To me.
She's a completely anachronistic character. Nothing fits right with her. She is very out of space and out of time. And I'm glad you noticed it, because I knew it looked familiar, but I didn't place that it was a Yugo, because you know what? Those were only available for like 3 years or something like that.
You still see them out there, but I think maybe that's a little bit of the point of, like, I feel like if she's one of those people who just got the car and has just kept that one car because that's all she needs. She does not need any other car because that's against Keir, probably, in her opinion. You know what I mean? Like, she probably picked, like, there's probably a whole backstory that you could come up with of like how she picked this Yugo. But I just think it's really interesting that that's how we start. Is she's just out in the middle of nowhere, like out in a road, just sleeping. Cold nowhere. It's like she's just ran away from Mark.
Right.
Now, because of what happens later, it makes me wonder, like, her response to Mark, was that just sheer panic, or was that some sort of, look, God, I'm already doing it. I'm already doing this speculative conspiracy.
That's what we're here for. And we might as well just deal with all of the Selvig stuff now, because it's just a handful of scenes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. But.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's in the middle of a road. It's like she just stopped and went to sleep. And she's like, I mean, practically in the middle of the road, just slightly pulled off. It's a snow corridor, so there's like no safety. It's like, it's such the odd place to choose. In fact, I'm like, did she run out of gas? Did she break down? But she's like, no, just starts the car back up, gets it up, and just going on. Like, I drove until I needed to stop, and then I stopped, and then I got back up, and I kept driving. You're right. There is an interesting background.
Fear response.
Yeah, it does.
Because I guess we don't have to bring it up now. We'll say we brought it up, and then we'll tie it into something else maybe. But yeah, all she has in this is she's driving around, and then she talks to Helly. And is that right? Does she have a third scene in here?
Well, she does, because she pulls over and she looks at a road sign to Salt's Neck. And she looks in the seat behind her, which I thought I was like, I don't know if that was snorkel gear or maybe just medical like breathing tube gear or something. And then she turns around and goes back. So it's definitely like, I don't know if she had a goal or she knew what it was and then realized she had to go back. I'm sure there's probably extra meanings in with these scenes because they're all carried very well, and it's just with her and reactions is all that we're seeing those decisions from the panic to the pause to the decision to go back. But yeah, what did you have any thought of like what was in that seat next to her or what that was for? Because I couldn't pull anything else out myself.
No,
Okay.
no, I didn't. I wish I'd had. I'm gonna have to see now. That's something else I didn't catch. So now I'm gonna have to watch it a third time so I can help. I can say something about it maybe next week. But I want to know then at the end of the episode, because since we're just covering her stuff, she's back in the parking lot. Helly comes out. Okay, this is a really weird scene.
So good though, the tension between them.
Yeah. Because it's like, okay, she knows who she is. She goes over to her. Let me make sure I look at my notes here. Right? She's still going on about the same thing. I have to be the head of MDR. Mark is so close to Cold Harbor. Milchick has to go. Like, you have to give me, like, she's still just running that same game. Then she tells her, she puts her in her place. I love how everybody talks in this. It makes me look things up to find out if they're real words.
Yeah. Oh no. They're brilliant back and forth here.
She gets the board on the phone, or does she? And then we have the long walk back to the car. And it's just like all of a sudden, this is like Lorraine Bracco getting told by Robert De Niro to go down there. Go down there and get the clothes. You just go down, just go down there.
Oh, it was totally like, oh, this is the moment. Whether you gonna live or die. I don't think that was the board. Let's go see them together.
Like, that's the parent. Like, and again, is that just ratcheted up paranoia, or has she got a legitimate reason to fear for her life? Or is it just the show trying to mess with all of us?
I think we read it right for what they wanted to say because we do see it. My wife was right next to me like, oh, they're going to kill her. The whole scene, because you see from Helly's face, like, let's go. And then she starts and she's got this. And then you see her face shift and it gets to that normal. And then it's like purpose. And then you can see that Selvig's in the back, like watching this, like thinking like, what is going on? Why would they do this? Because Helly was right. It's like, you've overplayed your cards. You overguessed your position and underestimated your ability to be gone. It's just Selvig played the last card. She was going to leave. She wanted to be back in charge. And you're right. For some reason, she's got this obsession with Mark, which we really got to find out about. But she's got to see the one that see it through and to damn with everything else. She is like the Kier idealist in the mission. But also, like any idealist, you only know part of the equation. You are just the tool. And I think at that point, Helly just saw like, all right, well, she's going to be a problem. We're not afraid of anything. I love that from that first episode. We aren't afraid of anything.
Yep.
So no, I think we read it right. And even when her driver took that like half step forward, I think that to me, that's what sealed it. Like he was going to make the move, but held back. And what happens with this now when you have an idealist who has been refuted?
Yeah. And I mean, she also brought up the whole, like, I earned this. So we have the whole kind of like, the people who work like that go out and have to fight for everything versus like the nepotism of other businesses that allow like, you know, oh, you can just it's real easy for you to just do whatever. But then when you really realize all that hard work, all that loyalty, everything that you've put yourself into, and you scream and I'm the best, I am going to get this done, whether it's actually important or not. And then they just say, this is what we think of you, real easy. Just boom, just like that. It does not matter how hard you worked.
Yeah.
We have all the cards. We will get what we want. You will do what we want. You will either take this fake promotion or you won't, or you end up in the back of that trunk. Like, that's just,
you can be quiet and taken care of, or you could be gone.
Yeah. So then as she's driving away, right, we know we're not rid of her. So, like, what's her next move? And again, she's a wild card.
Yeah. In the best possible way.
Yeah. She can show up and do anything now. They can write her. I mean, they still have to make it make sense, but like they can do a lot now with her. And speaking of, then we should probably just segue into Milchick's stuff and just cover his stuff too, because this is okay. I mean, again, it took some thinking on my part to get to where I needed to on this. Because I mean, the boss comes into work, already sees that the kids have been playing.
Yeah.
Right.
Look, the balloon's still floating in the hallway.
It doesn't get a chance to, because here's Natalie. And, with her headset and a perpetual smile and wide eyes that are creepy. She's a lovely actress. But boy, oh boy, man, do they know how to like... So, yeah, Milchick here. He's he's one of our villains, I guess, if you want to have villains in the show. He's the protagonist or the antagonist, one of them, against our protagonist. It could turn out that, he's completely justified. We don't know. Like, whatever we find out, like, whatever Lumen's doing, who knows? Maybe it is like, we really did have to press 418, 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. We really needed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it'll turn into something like that. I doubt it. But let's just show that even Seth here can be put in his place or realize something about his belief and loyalty, by somebody thinking they're doing something like good for you. Something that, you should want, and a way to show appreciation, or what we really think of you, what we want you to think of yourself, how we want you to be a part of, like, and it feels, So anyway.
Yeah, there is so much that goes in, because you're right. One, I always love the board doesn't say anything. And it's kind of like listening to a language translator. It's like this big, long, seems to be this big, long statement. And then she's like, they say you're welcome. It's like, that's not what they said. There was a lot more that was being said or not said. Or, are they on? When did they hang up? The fact that they will just hang up like in the middle of whatever it is you're saying, as far as that they're done. And how much of this is just manipulation on Natalie's part? She brings in, and the board bring in, a lot of questions. And I have to say, about 10 seconds before they did the reveal, I knew what this was going to be. Or I had hoped to God it wasn't this. Because when she's like, we want to be able to see yourself in Kier and have that reflection. It is like, there would be an interesting study of this show to see how people fail to read the room. And this is definitely one of those. This is like the worst possible choice. It's insulting. It's disturbing. the fact that they both, that moment between Seth and Natalie, where she's like trying to smile. It's like, the board wants to let you know that I also got one of these and I loved it. I mean, it was just those. You're right. You got to have a great actress and a great actor that can play the subtext of these moments, because the discomfort that these characters were feeling at seeing this and trying to integrate. For Milchek, it's like, okay, so you take a believer and then you mess with the whole basis of the belief system that, oh, we can frame any of this to just who you are. We can personalize your Kier experience. So is there anything real to it at all? And that's where I think this may get real interesting. Because Milchik did not appreciate this and certainly wanted to hide it as quickly as possible. Up above, who else is going to discover this?
Right.
In the office, you know, those are my questions. And will Milchik start to see that, oh, even his loyalty isn't really appreciated. It's appreciated as long as it serves Kier, as long as it serves Egan, as long as it serves Lumen. But the minute your loyalty doesn't serve, doesn't matter. It's a one-way street. Like many other things we see these days.
Yeah, listening to her is like when you hear a translate, like when you hear a guy speaking and like something, and and it just goes on and on and on, and the translator's like, he said sure. You know? It's like, huh? Yeah, I kind of misread at first her holding of the gaze. The conversation's over. The board is gone, and she holds on him for so long.
Yeah.
I was like, do they have a thing? That was what I first thought, because I was like, yeah, because in my first thought, it was like, well, he's a true believer. He sees this. I didn't think about the fact that he could be like, I can't react because I know they're listening. I know they're seeing me right now. I have to behave as if, and it's, since we're dealing with both African Americans, and now this is basically like corporates. This is beyond that too. Like, because this is like, because of the like very culty religious undertones, but also like it makes me think of how people now are like, we sided with these people that we thought were right, and guess what? Those people don't care about us at all. And I think that that's something that's also that can be, you know, on people's minds right now, is like, I sided with the wrong people. I believed in the wrong thing, people.
I think the show's very apt with its topical approach, how it can say things without having to be overt.
Yeah.
It can mean, and yeah, this is the cost of that kind of true belief and how it only works one way.
Yeah. And then when you realize like the people who put that together, in my opinion, I'm sure that at the very top, they could care less. But there's somebody out there that literally thought, this is how we show these people that we appreciate them, by including them in, like, hey, we're choosing to show you like how people get all in a twist over like race swapping or gender swapping on shows and movies and stuff. But this is on a different level. This is like, I don't even know. Like the things that must have been going through Milchik's head the second time when he's really looking at it and he just puts it away, like you said, and the way they framed that shot to go like, so that we know
get it up and stay up there, turn it,
And it's all dark, and he's doing it like in secret. It's just, again, we get to see that first crack, which I didn't think they would ever be, like, I wasn't waiting for this. I had no idea this was coming. It's such great writing to be able to just start already putting out new layers of things and new ways for you. Like, it's like all of a sudden, are we going to start loving Milchick like we all started loving Jamie Lannister? You know what I mean? Like, it's
Oh, that was a brilliant turn that will always, yeah.
like,
Don't
will
make
Milchick
me
end
like
up
Jamie
being,
Lannister move. Yeah.
yeah, will Milchick end up being like more of a protagonist in this in the end? Will he be the guy that's like, I'm not going to stop you from doing what I can't actively help you, but I don't have to stop you either. Kind of like what they say later on with the goat people.
Sure. Well, I got to say, on Milchick's behalf, he does have the dance moves to pull
Oh
it
my
off.
gosh, yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
he does bring the funk.
Now the rest of this is kind of a big thing. I mean, I guess we can talk about Irving. I guess he's a little separate. Everybody gets their jobs.
Yeah,
And
which is kind of
Irving's
nice.
is to take the missing Miss Gemma, missing Miss Casey posters to O&D. This was, again, every time I think there's nothing going to be happening in a scene where it's just, oh, he goes there, Bert's not there, she's there, they have a moment, and it's nice because it just keeps showing like how much Bert and Irving cared about each other on the inside. And then, because we get to see that Irving's art is coming out in down there, the way he draws Christopher Walken every day.
Every
That
day.
you can't see him, and it's like this a little bit different each time, almost like a flip book.
Yeah.
We get to find out like, oh, he had a real personality down here, and they're talking about him, like he's effectively dead, and made me think about how like these people only, like they wouldn't even have these conversations until now, and it's just really sad. It's just really sad because it's like the memory of someone only lasts as long as the people who remember you. Most of us, we're not going to be in no history or dictionaries or encyclopedias or whatever. And as soon as these people are gone, they're gone too. And it's just sad. And I think I'm just being maudlin now and a little bit. I think I've just been aware of my mortality a lot lately. But
they have framed the show very much as like, not going to work is effectively killing your innie.
Yeah.
Or that kind of separation. They have put that into the fact that they deal with this, like you said, like we're talking about, we're sharing memories of a loved one who has passed. That's exactly the feel for how this is, because they can't in any way expect that there's a way to do anything else. Again, Irving wasn't able to even get to Bert when he did have his one moment out. So effectively, that's his way of saying goodbye. I know they're so freaking cute together. And I loved, yes, how Bert spent 2 hours trying to fix his hair to be sure that he was there all right. And the fact that each of the drawings are slightly different makes it look like this is actually it, and not just he's drawing the same thing over and over again. Little variations, little bit. Those are nice touches. But yeah, and then it gets us to the exports hall. Once Phyllis sees that doorway,
and then we get, yeah.
So we have this lovely bonding.
More things because,
yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, there's a little bit of a connection thing, so I think it's a little blah, 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 so I start talking over you. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just saying it's just that they have this lovely bonding moment, which sort of relaxes guards and makes it easy. And I love how Irving's like, oh, that's not anything to worry about. This, like, I didn't want to risk this. And she immediately just grasps it and goes with it. I mean, it's like, again, we now have this relationship. Like you said, a relationship that wouldn't have been able to been allowed previously.
Yeah, hall pass. I love how he's walking past an 8-year-old, like, but then, yeah, we first heard of this place as the testing floor.
Right.
Now we're getting a new term called the exports hall, meaning and saying that we sent a lot of stuff down there. What? That I don't know. What does that mean? I mean, I guess they make a lot of stuff, right? They're 3D printing, right?
Right.
Because they talk about like don't tell me how to print a snow globe or whatever. So, gosh, I mean, again, my brain just suddenly starts going down like, like, what if there's a whole city down underneath this place?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. Is it the shipping point? Is it long-term storage? Is it all of that? Do the severance things, how does that work? Used to be we would go down there and do that. And, we used to go down and make a lot of deliveries. Now it's just one guy. So, yeah, they're layering in. This was a place that is now mysterious. And how do you know? The fact they didn't even breach the how are you aware of this, I think was kind of great, but no, I think it's just a nice sneaking of new information for us, with as anything else also including to ask us new questions.
And it also shows Irving's connection to Bert, still affecting him. And then we have Dylan. Dylan's got a really interesting thing this week too, because they called us on it anyway. Is like, is this thing even real? But man, okay. So Dylan gets to have a visitation with his Audi's wife, or effectively his wife too, or whatever.
Right.
And it's the new version of like the wellness thing, where it's like, instead of telling you just that your Audi's blah blah blah, we're gonna bring somebody in here that will tell you, even though we're still gonna control the situation. And if you want to be a part of it, you still have to follow those rules, even if you don't work for Lumen. Like
Please don't share sensitive information.
Yes, that the guy's name is Seth, because we wouldn't want him to know his first name. You know what I mean? Like that's too formal. She had to put all her stuff in a bag, a clear bag. The weird pictures, the whole presentation is just like a theme park, a little bit like makes me think maybe a little bit of like a museum attraction. Just some kind of just like, I don't know. It just feels unnatural. But again, everything here feels unnatural. I mean, even she at least gets to comment, who is that child?
Yeah.
My name is Miss Wang. Yeah, everybody. Oh, yeah. And I mean, there's twice in this. It bookends. Like, she asks about the child. Dylan's asking about her, too. Like, are you safe?
Is it weird for me to keep asking this? Because is it okay to have a child? Yeah.
But, and so on the surface to me, right, you just go, oh, they're trying. Like, I mean, okay, they're actually following through on letting him see his wife to get more information, to learn about the kids, and, get a little more information on himself. And she gets to like see kind of what it's like, to like who he is when he's in there. And I feel like, on the outside, this is supposed to be them doing something right. But this to me was like a threat that you don't even have. They're playing head games again.
Oh, they can offer and then
his wife
restrict
in
it.
front of him, telling him about all of a sudden, like when they were first saying that the information, you don't need that or blah, blah, blah. That was to me like a harmful way of doing it, making you fearful about, like, afraid to know the answers because you could be, fired or something. But it made me feel like this is why you have to stay here and work, because we're showing you that you're a fuck up. Your wife is telling your innie that you're a fuck up. She doesn't say it. He says it.
He says
She
it.
gives him the information. He comes to because he doesn't have all that baggage to think about, like the finer details of why somebody didn't, as she put it, find his thing. He just goes right to the simplest form of that, which is, oh, so he's a bit of a fuck up. And giving the information about the kids. And here's my wife. And what happens if I don't work because I can't keep a job? So giving all that information to like basically a new soul who would only want to do, like, I want my kids to have the best things and I like my wife being happy. So I'm going to stay here and not cause trouble.
I think everything Lumen does is manipulative. I think they have clearly demonstrated that. So there is no generosity that is being afforded by these family visits in any way, shape, or form. It has the illusion of that, but that's also what Lumen sells, is an illusion. I have to say, I was really split with this scene because one, I'm like, I can't trust that this isn't some random actress who got hired by Lumen to play Dylan's wife, because how the hell would he know any difference? And especially you go in and like you said, it's almost like this is your life photo setup where everything's all like digitized and put together. I'm like, they could have hobbled these two pictures together from anything and make it look like a picture. So I am always very suspicious of Lumen. On the other hand, I was also of the idea of like, maybe it is his wife, but is it his Audi wife or is this any wife? Is this a severed version of his wife that has been clued into some of this information? Considering how Gemma was able to interact with such little information, Miss Casey, who's only been alive for 96 hours or something like that, including all of her therapy time, how do they set these things up? Let's just say I had a lot of questions as the scene was going on. I do have to say she was great at playing I am uncomfortable and trying to do the right thing and I am not here. She was playing the Audi wife in this situation perfectly, which was the only thing that had me, second guessing all of my other, conspiracy theories. And it's almost like she is seeing the Dylan that she fell in love with years ago. And she's uncomfortable. It's like, I like this Dylan. There's a sweetness. And obviously Dylan's very excited to see me. And he wants to hear about her wife. And he seems to be generally interested in me. I mean, they play with that so beautifully. And when you're able to juxtaposition that with the outside version, one that at least let me go, okay, well, that's at least technically his wife, if not like the innie or outie. But you could see the difference in that relationship, that this felt like the teenage, college age, we get together and we're a little nervous and we don't know how to interact. And it's so sweet. And I really liked it. But like you said, now how will this be used against Dylan? Well, may not be able to have another thing. Your kid was actually asking, he did, your kid just did great on the spelling bee. I'm sure you'd like to hear that. Maybe you'd like to see your kid. Oh, but your quarterly revenues are a little bit low. Your numbers are bad, or we need to know what Mark is talking about when he's in the blah, blah room or whatever. You're right. This can easily be twisted now that it's offered as something to be taken away. What was once a gift can now be a punishment. And so, yeah, I loved all of this, and I loved, like I said, even his recreation. Like, so what's wrong with me out there? Especially as he is so driven to succeed inside that his Audi is kind of a fuck up. You're right. I mean, it's like now he's in competition with himself. Can I be a better husband to my wife than my Audi is? I mean, this really does add so many possibilities, and I trust none of them because Lumen sells illusions, not reality.
Exactly. And I mean, and we got to see, like, when she's at home, right? They do kind of make it seem like, you know, he works during the day and then she has to work at night. So they're, you know what I mean? Like they're passing ships. They're trying to
Yeah.
raise these kids. It's not, you know, like it's their life is like a lot of people's lives, man, a daily struggle. And so to lose a job in any market, I mean, they, you know, it's, but her looking at him now, just sitting on the couch, saying he couldn't even manage to do the cookies or whatever, the things, you know, the things that she asked when she met the other guy who probably would have had everything done.
Oh yeah, on top,
And
ready, dusted. Yeah, totally different
so
setup.
even though, yeah, there's that part of that whole scene, I guess I wasn't trying that hard to look for the darkness, but it's right there, and I love it. I mean, I just can't believe how many like different depths this show has. Which brings us to like where this is where the like all the like chunks are with Mark and Helly,
Right.
who, I mean, it can't be our Helly. It just can't be.
You know, I gotta say, I go both ways
No.
because she has too much of a fluidness that Helena does not have. She is too comfortable in what she is doing than I can see Helena having. So it would be a hell of a performance and a lot of messed up things to it if it's Helena down there and not, you know, Severance Telly. Because they are so good together. And I'm sorry, that moment when they're in the hallway and do I kiss? Do I not kiss? How do I? You don't know. You don't know what any of this stuff is even like. You have no connection or reality to anything. Surprised you knew what a kiss was.
Yeah.
And now how do you? But was it just a last moment? Does she still want? Is how it can't go all the way in? So how? It was just God. That was so sweet. It's like between that and the Dylan and his wife stuff was just like some of the sweetest moments in the whole episode.
I can relate to Mark's whole thing. That was like, that was a little too close to home. I'm just like not knowing what, sitting there going, I think something's happening here, but I think I'm just gonna leave.
Yeah.
That's usually my move, where I'm just gonna go, somebody do something. You're not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm gonna walk away.
All right, missed the moment. It's gone. Okay, we're gone.
And then you're screaming at yourself later on at night.
I am blessed to not be in the dating scene. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm very thankful to have my person because God, I would hate to fucking be out there. I would hate that, and I would be horrible at it.
Well, I am.
But
so.
these. Well, you want to get more on the bar. You need to find your Helly there, Rob.
I'm just a Gambit looking for his rogue.
Hopefully one that's less like dangerous to the touch.
What's a little unconsciousness amongst, you know, a couple people who like each other?
It's, you know, you're really sharing all of yourself in that relationship.
Yeah. Right? She knows everything once she gets all your memories. You know, you can't hide anything. So anyway, we are off to Goatland, the land of goats, the land of what's the term? Okay, I have
mammalians.
Yeah,
naturable.
Yeah, man. Why, Brianna Tarth? Blah blah blah. Mammalians nurturable.
Nurturable. That's
meaning
right.
Nurturing of mammals, I think, of in Latin. I don't know what that means. It could mean anything. I don't. It's just there's a bunch of people hanging around goats. Now, I'm not even the guy. Like I said, the guy in the black goat mask, I think, is supposed to, or the whole goat get up. Is he supposed to be like the alpha goat that just kind of like?
He's looking over the herd, man.
Yep.
That's his job.
Yep. But like, where's the wolf? Who's who's the wolf? Who's the person that he's looking? You know, like is there even a reason? Have they all like whatever? It's just so I love it because it's just so weird and I have no explanation for it. And sometimes I don't even want one. I don't need one sometimes. Sometimes I see something so weird and I'm just like, I'm just gonna let it be weird. I'm just gonna let it exist. And this is one of those moments where it's just like Gwendolyn Christie coming over the field, clicking her thing or shears or whatever, saying, "Are you here to kill me?"
The legend
Showing again
of
like
microdata refinement is everywhere.
that the lies about macro data refinement are everywhere. But now I'm starting to wonder, okay, Mark's in macro data refinement. He's working on Cold Harbor. Cold Harbor is super important. Do we scare other people so that they, I don't know, stay away from macro define? If it is what's happening in macro data refinement so important that the fear that they put in of macro data refinement into the other departments is to make sure that no one ever interferes with their department, and that basically the worst nightmare is if someone from macro data refinement actually chooses not to do the job. And now that's what's happening. And now with them even going out and talking to people like O&D and these people showing, you know, we don't have pouches. we are not here to kill you. And I mean, you can also, you know, there is the whole thing you could say about keeping workers from not, you know, unionizing in this bit of like making sure that we're fighting against each other so we don't fight against the powers above us that, you know, are supposed to be working for us, blah, blah, blah. But what I wanted to finally tie back into was when they're talking to her and he brings up Gemma and she won't answer his question. And as soon as it gets too weird for her, she grabs the cowbell. Now, yeah, Christopher Walken's in this show. There's
Gotta
a
have more cowbell.
It just, I'm sorry, I made the connection instantly. I don't like I said, somebody in this episode must have really liked the Stone Roses in the 90s when they threw that song in here. And somebody, it's goats, so you don't have to have a cowbell, but they put a cowbell in there. So, and I almost put something in here. I was like, I gotta have more cowbell.
Gotta have more cowbell.
Now I want less cowbell. That's why I put it in the thumbnail. Less cowbell, please, because it's just creepy. Because she freaked out when she didn't have she couldn't. It's like she couldn't answer to me.
Yeah.
Like what's so, you know, like she does have, you know, like she does have answers, but if somebody asks about Gemma, if somebody pushes about Miss Casey, is that the response? Cobell's response was screaming in her car and honking the horn and taking off. Their response was to ring a bell and have everybody come in like the goddamn children of the corn with goats and threaten to kill them, basically, or surround them.
I mean, yes, it was weird how evasive she was with Gemma, but once we kind of get the, you know, reveal and fear for that legend of MDR, of macro data, it makes a little bit more sense because it wasn't that she just wasn't answering. He was pushing. He was like, you know,
that's true.
You have to tell us. You better tell. So he got in a semi-threatening position, which would get her to respond to have like the freaking children of the goats come on out in their just like inbred looking weirdness thing.
Those poor people.
Yeah. I mean, but again, that's just one more layer of this odd, weird thing. I mean, you have a hallway for goats that look just like the larger human corporate hallways. It's just smaller. And then you have a field inside a giant room, like with hills, a hilly field for the goats to run around in. My firstly favorite part was the one vending machine up against the wall in the grass right there.
For some reason, it made me think of in Final Fantasy VII Remake, there's always a bench and and a vending machine to sit on, and it just looked like one of those scenes from that game. I don't know why. But yeah, it is funny. It's still there though. You can still get salsa.
See, and you got to be able to enjoy the new offerings. So, I mean, yeah, the whole setup was weird. Her whole response, of course, the minute she pops up, I'm just like, Brienne of Tarth, because I couldn't remember Gwendolyn Christie's actual name at that moment. I mean, and I want to see more of her. You can't have her in as a one-off. And I think you're right. I think there is establishing this fear of other, whether it's just, again, to prevent unionization, let's not have people talk and communicate. Secrecy and separation is where Lumen, thrives. We don't want to have people talking. We don't want to have these communications, and best to have that fear. And I did love the fact that they do ask about the pouches, because all I'm thinking is you should turn around and be like, yes, but there is a small viral form that will eat me and become a new version of me. I think that was the other thing that Bert talked about with the pouches. But the response to Gemma, once they're able to drop that down to Miss Casey, it's like, yeah, she would come and do this here. The one guy's like, she said my Audi excelled at stargazing. That meant a lot to me. I mean, it's just, you see these moments and connections. I think that was great that at least at the very end, we may not help you, but we're not going to stop you either. If you're going to continue to search for her, we will not stand
But also
in your
we
way.
see that Miss Casey is loved.
Yeah.
So, sorry, yeah, my connection's being a little funny again. So
that's all right. I just got internet back today, so it could totally be on my end as well. So don't even worry about that.
Okay. Yeah, but everybody seemed to anybody that comes into contact with her really likes her. So, I mean, it's like, I like that that's also a connector for these people, is that, we all know this one person that helped us out, and that's what we're helping. Just like your goats, we're going after somebody that helped us. You'd go after the goats.
Mm-hmm.
Finding common ground, getting simple information. Like if you think about the level of ignorance, right?
Yeah.
You feed a bunch of people in misinformation, and you make sure that that's the only information they ever get, that's only available to them. People. And then what happens? They believe that forever until, wow, all of a sudden, a little bit of communication, a little bit of common ground, and all of a sudden things start to, wow, maybe we don't have to act this way to each other. But to finish up, we've got the Rickon, Natalie going over to Rickon's place. Okay, so more just, they go for, okay, this guy, he's a great, Michael Chernus is great. This guy who's, one of his weaknesses is going after his vanity and, sucking up to his book. And they want to make a version of this for Innies. And all I could think was, this guy, and I mean, they could end up blaming whatever happens. I helped write this, right? I helped go in there and write this dialogue that's going to be worded a little bit better for our Innies to under. So we're going to take all that stuff that is being spread that's good, but we're going to tweak it a little bit. We're just going to change some words around. I wonder how that's going to work. Like, and then again, they can blame Rickon a little bit for.
Yes, I mean, there is that definite possibility, but it's also how any religion subserts another. Oh, like you said, all they knew is in Lumen is Kier. In the severed floor, that's the only information they have. Then this outside bit of work comes in, which, like anything, is just different. So it's going to be venerated and illuminated, and words will spread. So, well, we're not to take over this place. We're just gonna take their stuff and change it around so it works for me. So now it's cures all the you that you are. We'll just
Yeah.
twist all the words to make it. That's not Saturnalia. We'll say that that's Christmas now. Um, that's not a festival of fertility. It's Easter. It's the rebirth of Christ. It's all of these things that every religion does. Is it takes what the population is connected to, and subverts it and twists it to this, which people pay attention to the world right now. That's all we're saying. Pay attention, because this is happening right now in front of us. We're going to take your information and twist it and not let you have their information anymore, but our version of it.
Yeah. And it kind of, to me, is, could it possibly be similar to the, I got to say the word right, wow,
Recanonization. Oh, God.
Recanonized.
Mwah. I love that term.
Is
It's
that
so
another
messed
version
up.
of that?
It's the new canon. It's the personal. Here, the Cure Headcanon Collection.
Right? Tired of this one? Just, oh my goodness. So we got that going on, right? But this segues into what it is explained or shows from earlier with Mark in his car, and now we know how further that Devin and him are in cahoots to do what, again, a lot of people do. What do you do when you Google it? How would I get a message to an innie? Google that. Is it safe? I don't know. And it's, they're following in the same kind of footsteps that Petey would have, and I thought it was hilarious. I mean, and at first it's like, okay, wow, what if this actually is something that could work? And it's like, but I love that they're smart enough to go and have the person show up, which is, everybody's got such strange names.
Yeah, I know. I just put Doc down and I didn't correct it.
Asal. Shows up and is like, that's not gonna work, dude. You're just gonna burn. But I mean, I gotta give it to him. It is kind of clever.
I thought it was. I was like, oh, he's gonna burn an image on his retina, so he's still seeing the after image. That's kind of clever. You can't do when it's gonna last for 2 minutes.
Yeah. So it explains the whole thing with him timing, why he was doing all of that, to how long before I get in the elevator and I don't remember anything. It shows to me, again, Mark is going after his wife.
Yeah.
He does not know yet, but it's important enough to anybody that was worried that he wasn't into it. Oh, he's into it now. And especially after Cobell, her silence said so much. And him and his sister developing this plan, but it's not very good. But still, now we have her telling him, I can reintegrate you. I'm better at it now. And as smart as she sounds and as earnest as she sounds and information, okay, it was the only part of the episode I don't like, which is but then they completely switch it on you. They always, every time I go, oh, why'd they do this? They're probably not going to answer any of this. Because if a character says, is my wife alive? And you go, she was the last time I saw her, you should probably just start spilling your guts. In a normal conversation human beings have, you don't just stop. You don't just say, you don't say that. That's a line. People would say, listen, we got to talk. Your wife is alive. This is how I know it. Blah, blah, blah,
when
blah.
was the last time you saw her? How did you see her? What was going? Yeah, you generally elucidate that information. Yeah.
So, but that's not what they do here. They do a TV movie version of dragging it out, but they still do say, why didn't you tell me? You know what I mean? They at least go there. And I guess some people were confused at the ending here, but I wasn't confused at all. I'm still not confused at all about what happened. Is that, like, and there's all kinds of the scientific stuff that just to me doesn't really matter. She's sticking them up to dio, and talking about theta waves and all that stuff. That's good, great, grand. All right.
Yeah,
It's
good Star
sci-fi,
Trek
timey-wimey.
science.
I'm not a scientist. There's only so much research I'm going to do on a show, folks. Okay? I'm not going to try to figure out whether or not time travel is actually, all that stuff. This is just plot. And him going, he's still in the chair. Yes, he's still in the chair. It's just that they figured out a way for him to remember things that put him in the place, but he's still in that chair. So it's not like he's in there now all of a sudden. So we're going to probably see a pretty trippy, we have the potential for some pretty trippiness. I mean, the titles, the intro of this show is pretty trippy as it is. And now we're just getting really into it. This is the steps. And what I like about this is forward progress, but also it makes me feel like this show is not going to go on for a whole bunch of years. It's going to do its thing and get out. Like,
oh no, there
Better
definitely
Call
feels like
Saul
a
or Breaking
plan.
Bad. Like, people with a plan. And when I see moves like this early on in the second season, it tells me we are on a clock. But not like, don't worry about how we're going to get there, but we know we are on a clock, and you might not know when we're going to be done, but you're going to feel like, okay, this isn't going to go on forever. And I like that so much. But yeah, where are they going to go next? There's a whole lot of potentials now. And I just want to know what happened with Cobell, but what did you think, I guess, of
one, I love Devin.
Yeah.
I love Mark's sister. She is freaking awesome. I love how when she walks in on Natalie, like, what's going on? What's this? She sussed it out. You could tell in her eyes. She sussed out exactly what was going on, was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Just watch after the kid. I'm out of here. I don't even believe I'm seeing this. I'm moving on. It's like, she loves her husband, but her husband is totally clueless and she freaking knows it. And, great for their relationship. I love the back and forth that she has with Mark. I mean, they really have that perfect brother-sister jabbing but supportive relationship. Their dialogue is all great. I love, that they have a plan. Whether it's a great plan or not, they are actively working together on a way to get this to happen. Because, of course, she was the one that was like, you sure, Gemma? Wasn't Gemma you were going after? So, I mean, you can see that all of that back and forth really have pushed them together in this way.
And they're keeping it a secret.
Right. And I love how they're doing that smart. And you're right. I love how he's trying to do it. And, of course, it's going to make him go behind. How she just shows up and he's really trying to ignore her until she's like, yes, open the goddamn car so we can talk. I loved all of that. And as much of his resistance and push and thing is, the moment that he knew that Gemma was alive, he could reintegrate, great, do it.
Yep.
Boom. No question, no thought, no nothing. This gets me to go, yes, do that thing. Yeah, the fact that she's like, I'm better at it, it's not a confidence builder either, I don't think, in my mind. And of course, there are going to be problems. That's part of what this show is all about. But no, I wasn't confused at the end. To me, that's the visualization of him you're trying to reintegrate two sets of memories and two personalities back into an individual. Are they going to be separate but working together? Are they all going to be one? How is this going to affect his relationship with Helly versus going after Miss Casey / Gemma? Are they going to, are they going to find a cooperative relationship? There's so many different possibilities that could go with this. You're right. I'm really excited about this. I'm excited to see where Dylan is going to go with his choices now that he has an opportunity to learn more about his wife and his kid, and how is that going to affect his Audi's relationship with his wife. And like I said, and I still, to me, Irving is the key. Finding out more about Irving's outside world and what it is that he's pursuing. When the Audis get together, that's when it's going to really click going forward. But they may try and keep that from happening for as long as possible.
Yeah.
I'm really curious. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I think that brings us to, briefly, our favorite moment of the show, or of the episode. For me, it's really easy. It's the Dylan and his wife scene, just because I really saw the dark side of that, of, again, the manipulation to get him to work there, get her to be an accomplice, without even knowing it. She was very confused at a lot of it, and just kind of like, okay, like just a pawn in somebody else's game. And I don't think she's a person either that'll like, if she ever finds out that she's being played a little bit, added to her husband's, like her family's life. This is their lives. And anytime somebody, like if we've seen, like with Devin, somebody starts to manipulate their family, like you said, Audis are going to unite at some point, and Merritt Weaver's a good actress, and I can't wait for her to like catch on. But that was my favorite moment of the episode.
And did I see correctly? She's a cop, right?
Either a cop or maybe a security officer.
Okay. Yeah. It was uniform and badge. So
yeah. I saw something that made me think maybe security. Maybe she's Lumen security.
I'll have to go back and look now and see what was on the badge. Yeah, we'll find out.
It wasn't Lumen. Anyway.
But in a similar vein, I've got to say probably that hallway moment between Mark and Helly, because there was just such a cute innocence and uncomfortableness with it. There was a realness to that, and that's one of those things where I kind of feel that this is Helly and not Helena, because this felt more of like a teenager. Again, very much like the Dylan scene in with his wife there. It's like we're kids, and we just realized we could kiss, and that's a thing. And can I do it again? And was that okay? There was just such that bubbling innocence in with that moment. It was great, and the fact that is going to be so compromised now that we have a reintegrated Mark, I think is going to make it stand out kind of even more. I'm really curious how that relationship ends up. So yeah, again, it's not a big one, it's not a big turning moment, but it just stuck in my head. I thought it was beautifully done.
It makes me hope you're right. I just feel like they're being very deliberate in not showing her leave or really giving her anything about herself.
Yeah.
To me, it makes it look more like she's there to keep an eye on him, but also whatever weird shit's going on in her head already. But I mean, to me, it's like wrangling, putting up with him, letting him go on his little mystery, but being there to be able to go at any time she wants.
I am going to be curious if she starts at any point steering him into work. I would definitely lean more into the Helena persona, because they don't know what the hell they're working on. What do they care about any of that stuff? Yeah. But Cold Harbor is very important for Keir, for Lumen for some reason. So I think that may end up being the giveaway. But I'd like to be wrong too. I like them together. They're cute. But this show is not really about happy endings.
No, not yet anyway. We got a long way to go before any kind of happy endings. And I mean, what would that even look like?
Yeah, seriously.
Because that's just too clean. Life is not full. It's not. Things just don't happen that way. It's just, but whatever. We grew up. We saw enough happy endings in our lives at the movies. Now it's time to face reality, folks. Everything. Anyway, so I think that about covers it. We did another. Yeah. I think we hit every point that we needed to. Yeah, cowbell and car horn Gemma connection, the exports hall. There's so much to talk about. That's why I feel like when I look at it, I'm like, man, we talk longer than the episode goes. But I mean, it's because you can't stop. You know what I mean? Like they're not
Yeah.
explaining it, so here we are explaining it to each other.
Well, and we're again a
Um,
little bit of
so yeah,
speculation.
every Friday night you can still. I'm doing this. I've got a couple of things that I'm working on, looking for once I get some more. Work has been a lot. I hurt myself, so we'll be making more comic stuff and other videos pretty soon. But for right now, this is the for sure video on the channel for Severance and playing video games. We're almost done with God of War. We're going to start playing God of War Ragnarok pretty soon. That's what's going on my channel. I know that your channel's got stuff coming up, which I'll be involved in. And you've got the thing with Mark over at Enchantment of Eternity. Oh, you just did number 3, right? Or was it number
we
2?
just did number 3 over on Enchantment of Eternity, his number 3 Star Trek of all time, episode of all time. And so we'll be doing number 2 later on this month, which will also be nice. And then wrapping up next month with his big number 1. So yeah, keep an eye on Enchantment of Eternity or my stream. I will try and put notices when I'm going to be over there. Otherwise, yes, here on Friday nights, talking Severance. There are big shows that will be coming up over to D's Reviews. We'll be returning in March and also in April. So be sure to like and subscribe. I know it's February's tomorrow, folks. We already got a month behind us. January's been so great. But there's
47 months to go.
Here.
47 months to go.
That's right, 47 months.
January, if January can clip, if the rest of the 47 can clip as fast as January, we'll be fine.
It's only been 2 weeks of January, though. It's the second half. Anyway, folks, exciting stuff. Like and subscribe to Smirking Gun Reviews and D's Reviews. We got great entertainment, great material coming up. You're going to want to see it all. So hit that bell to be notified.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye. Oh, here comes the outro.
Fuck you, Mr. Milchick!
Ba-ba-ba-bum. Ba-bum-bum-bum. Bum-bum-bum-bum. 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 Ba-bum-bum-bum.